This next panel is designed for you to have a safe space to really explore your identity. We've been seeing you participate in the conversations online. Continue tweeting and sharing your thoughts and your feedback. But we want you to really to pay attention and lean in here. So that you can understand better who you are and so that you can show up with 100% yourself as you prepare to step off into what's next for you. Let's start the conversation.
Hi, how are you doing? Hi, my name is Mykal Kilgore. I'm extremely excited to be speaking with you all in NAACP. I have incredible panelists, and we're going to be talking about identity. Who are you? How do you see yourself? Because it doesn't really matter how anybody else sees you. It's all about what you see of yourself. So now I want to bring these two incredible ladies onto the screen. First up, we have Neverending Nina, and I want her to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Neverending Nina, pronouns she, her, hers, diva sometimes. And I am a singer, songwriter, artist, entertainer, community cultivator, and a Jill of all things.
Absolutely that. You're all of those things for sure. And second, we have the beautiful and talented Miss D'Angelique Jackson.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is D'Angelique Jackson. I currently serve within the NAACP as the first vice president for the California-Hawaii State Conference Youth and College Division. I'm also a national civic engagement trainer for the Youth and College Division, and I was most recently elected to serve as the incoming Region 1 YouthWorks youth representative. So I'm very excited to be here today.
Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I'm Mykal Kilgore once again, and I am an NAACP Image Award nominee for Outstanding New Artist, as well as a Grammy Award nominee for Best Traditional R&B Vocal. Now, I've said all that, so I can say the most important part. I'm old. This is your generation, and this is why we have a D'Angelique in the room. And I want to go to you first, D'Angelique. And I want to ask you this question. We were talking a little bit before we got on, and I think something that's very important to me is, one, to congratulate you on your first month in your term. So how do you feel?
Yeah, thank you. I forgot to say that, actually. I am also the president for Fresno State Student Body Government. So I feel so excited to have started my presidency off within the month of June, which, as we know, is our Pride Month. And I was honored. I was the first president and a part of our institution's first opportunity to raise the Pride flag. And so to do that in our over 100-year history, to me, was an honor, because I know that I stand on the shoulders of some amazing queer people who came before me and held the same position. So it's been an amazing experience, and I'm excited to make the most out of this year at my institution, Fresno State.
I'm sure there are so many people who are extremely proud of you and honored that you're carrying on such a tradition. I want to know, what is it like to be a Black, queer, Black lesbian woman working within white spaces, especially white queer spaces? Do you find that the dissonance is difficult to overcome, or do you feel like there are more similarities than there are differences?
I think that when you're talking about being a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, it's important to understand that when you hold that title, it is a part of your identity. It is not your complete identity. So when we talk about working with white people and having to come up face to face with white privilege in these spaces, especially being student body president, that still very much exists. I think being a student at Fresno State and interacting with other queer people who are part of different racial and ethnic backgrounds, we always still have to overcome all of our different privileges. And white privilege is no different than that. If anything, I feel that's one of the hardest privileges that we as minority people have to face and be willing to overcome, and recognizing, like I said, the people who came before me who were LGBTQIA plus and held this position, how far we've come, and staying focused on our goal and understanding that we have so much more to do, so much more to accomplish. But I think that definitely it has been a challenge, but it's a challenge that I know that I'm up to, because my goal is to continue to make space for people who look like me and who feel and love the way that I do.
You know, I find that there's not much more that's dangerous and impressive than a woman who speaks with that smile on her face, and it's like that knowingness of like, I'm ready for this fight and I can handle it. And speaking of that, Nina, Neverending Notes, Nina, I love you so much, and I'm so glad that you're a part of this conversation as a Black trans woman.
Yes.
Is outspoken and has no BS about her in any way, shape, or form. How do you find maneuvering, especially in this business, because you're an amazing artist in your own right? How do you find maneuvering as a Black trans woman?
Well, I think number one, the work starts with knowing yourself. I think once you know yourself, you're equipped to go in any space and handle yourself accordingly. Once you get into that work, no one can take that understanding from you. So you can execute and navigate however you choose, because I know myself. And so I think that's the thing for me that keeps me going, that keeps Black queer people going, that keeps Black femme people going, that keeps the young adults going who might not even know how to identify yet, keeps them going, of saying, okay, I have something inside of me. I might not know just what it is, but I know that one day I'm going to find that. And so it is my duty to keep going in that space, to get to that understanding in due time, and know that it's only in your own journey and in your own time that you can reach that. And so I think that is where the power lies for the individual to then, once understanding that, knowing how to show up and speak for the community that they represent.
Oh my goodness. So what you said that stuck out to me is the whole part of the journey. And if we're talking about knowing who we are, where was the knowingness, and this is for both of you, before your identity as queer folk was present? Do you feel like there was a knowingness about yourself that preceded that helped you to get to your own identity? And what was that knowingness? Either one of you. I know
for me,
yeah.
For me, if we're in this Black space, it was my experience in Blackness, to where I was always the one questioning. I didn't mind being the Black sheep. I didn't mind being the person that was going to ask the question. Is that, are we supposed to act like, I mean, is that how it's supposed to go? I mean, how long have they been doing this? And what are the receipts of that? Like, I don't, I think that's where I found my voice, my vocal, even before I knew and registered that I could sing. I always questioned if the God that I know made me in their image, then I have every right to question and ask anything I want to anybody. Now, that don't necessarily mean they have to give me the answer, but that means I have the wherewithal to ask. And so if they can't tell me for themselves, that means I have to do the work to find the answer that I need for myself. And so I think for me, it was in that young stage of saying, that just don't feel right. But I still got to listen, because they pay the bills in the house, or they're paying for my education, or they're giving me money each week. Or, so I got to get my own job. I got to find my own safe space. I got to find my, so I could be the head in charge. Okay, that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. What you may not be able to see at home is DeAngelique she's amening and yesing right along with all of it. And when we're talking about asking questions and being able to like put yourself out there and, you know, really seek your truth, your identity, your purpose, I think this is a perfect time to shoot to you, DeAngelique, because as a person in the appropriate generation for this conversation, as Nina and I are just a little bit older, just a teen.
But the intersections of all, we see each other.
Yes. Do you feel like our generation set you up for success?
Honestly, when we're talking about my queerness, being a proud Black lesbian woman in America, I absolutely do. I really do. Even even with just like when talking about raising the pride flag on my campus, which is the first time that Fresno State has risen the pride flag, is when I took office.
Wow.
Just to think about how that institution has existed for over 100 years, and I was the lucky one to be able to do that, and being able to say that I'm the first proud and open LGBTQIA plus student body president of my institution, but I'm not the first LGBTQIA plus president. I know that I'm standing, like I said earlier, on the shoulders of some amazing people, some strong people. And I think a lot about how, like, when I came into my presidency and when I said, yeah, you know, I identify as being a part of this community, there was no question about it. I didn't get any pushback. Nobody said, oh, well, you can't identify that way to be in this role, which I know that there had to have been conversations with my predecessors who share that intersectional identity with me, where they were told, you have to contain yourself, you have to water yourself down. So I know that your generation laid this amazing groundwork, and my job is now to build the foundation for the building that's going to stand on top of that. So absolutely.
Well, Nina, let's pat ourselves on the back. We did great. No, but I raise a toast to you. Thank you so much. I do wanna go a little deeper, and this is for both of you again. Where are the brave spaces for us? Where are the spaces where we can replenish ourselves, we can rest, where it's not about fighting and wrestling for respect and our quarter? Where are the spots? Like, do you have to create them within yourself, or are there still, you know, locations? And I'll start because my second music video was for a song called Pass Me That, and I wanted so badly to film the video in a barbershop because it was such a triggering place for me growing up, being Black and gay. The barbershop was a landmine. It was like a landmine field. You know, you could go in the wrong day and the person starts talking and everyone's homophobia or just bigotry, because we talked earlier about the fact that it's not a fear, you're just a bigot, comes out. And I wanted to turn the barbershop into a place that felt more like a space for all Black folk. And that was the goal. And now when I go to the barbershop, it feels completely different. And I think that's, you know, just because times have changed. Are there places like that for you two ladies?
Well, I think that it's important to have that space within yourself. Absolutely. You have to be able to know that no matter what, you can always come back home and find yourself there and hug yourself there. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, as human beings, if there's one thing, and we talked about it earlier while we were waiting to come up on stage, there is one of a few things that we require, and that is love and intimacy, which means that having your community around you is super important. And I know that being a Black lesbian, I have such a hard time finding those spaces. It's very, very hard to find other Black lesbians who also share my identity and who share my love for life as well. So it's like, you also have to be willing to put yourself out there and find those people who can share those viewpoints as you, or who could at least say, I don't personally identify, but I understand and I support you. And that really only comes with being able to speak up and speak your truth. Now, for me, my way of going about it is I never have the coming out conversation with the people around me. I never do. I always just casually incorporate it into conversation because my straight friends have never had to come out to me. And it's like, from that point on, if we run into any issues where they're like, whoa, what did you say? It's like, okay, clearly this isn't a safe space for me. Clearly this isn't a relationship that either one of us needs. So let me go find my new community. So that's the approach that I take with it. It's never about coming out. It's about, can you come to me and see me and accept me as I am where I stand?
Yes, come on, man. I see something bubbling up in your spirit.
That is when I talk about the intersections of understanding, is that for my cis het community, they never had to do any of the things that we know ourselves having to do just to show up. And so if the systems were not in place, we could have a plethora of places that we could go and show up, particularly to the Black space, because that means everyone was welcome. But because we have been ostracized, because we have not been seen, because we have been disrespected, because we have devalued, because we have been given violence to us just because of our existence, we had to go and create those safe spaces out of our need to have a space for us. So in communal spaces, in community. And so that's how I lead with it. It's like, okay, you kick me out of here, or you kick me out of the church, or you kick me out of the community meetings, I'll create my own. Then you'll still come back to say, oh, well, how did you bring all those people together? Because I have community behind me.
I'm not coming out. I'm not coming out. Come to me.
I'm not.
Come to me.
You know,
please.
Y'all know.
And then when you come to me because you kick me out, I'm charging extra.
Well, Darnell Moore speaks a lot about this idea of not coming out, but welcoming in, and welcoming people into your truth and into your life. When you brought the church, a chill went down my spine, because I think so often about how growing up, it was actually kind of okay to be gay as long as it was a struggle, as long as you were stressed about being gay. Once I stopped being stressed about it, it became this huge issue of like, well, you're not struggling with your identity. You're not, trying to overcome it. No, I'm trying to overcome a thing. I'm gay, girl. I feel great about it. But that also made me think about, my experience as a person who lives both these identities. I'm Black and I'm gay. Mm-hmm. And have you ever felt the need to turn the volume down of one being in other spaces? And if you have felt that need, how do you combat the desire to do it and to stay with the volume of your full self on high at all times? Nina?
I mean, I've the community, and we when I say this, I'm saying it because we're in the space that all my Black people, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you all.
Put her on the big screen. She needs the full screen.
Okay, I'm already in. For some, I'm already thought of as less than. I'm already thought of as an afterthought. That's my power, because that means when I get in this space, I have no issue bringing everybody to the table and saying, yeah, you kick me out. Yeah, because these indoctrines that were implemented to hurt us or to not see the existence of everyone in the Black space, see how this has hindered our equality. See how this has hindered our equity. If you're talking about you want to build with everybody Black, then you have to see everybody Black. That doesn't mean you have to be in their household. That means you have to give them respect, because we have so many issues with distractions and what they doing over here and all like that. Baby, you're not feeding me, financing me, or taking care of me in that space. But long as you see me as a person in your said community, then I have every right to lift my hands and say, do you? And so that's the thing that, far as being a Black trans woman, is that when I go into these spaces, I already come with the community, already come with the wherewithal. Well, child, I might not get invited back again, but while I'm here, I'm going to call a spade, and I'm going to call a thing. And so that you're not going to say that once you leave this panel or leave this discussion that you don't have any points to do the actual homework in your own individualized settings and places, because that's the thing that I speak to. Yeah, we could give you all this intellectual property, but what are you going to do with it? Are you going to sit with yourself to see how you can then change to make the whole community better, not just for you?
You have just hit on something that I think is so important. I hope everyone listening, especially all the queer folk listening, hears. There is a superpower in that being underestimated. There's a superpower in it, because there's no ego. You can go into the room and just say, let me tell the truth. Let me be a real truth teller in here, because what I have to lose? You already don't respect me at the level that my intelligence should give me respect. You already don't see me at the level that my humanity should allow me to be seen. So I might as well come up here and tell you the full unvarnished truth and let you live with that. We only had like a few minutes to have conversation beforehand, and I feel like even at your very young age, D'Angelique, you are a master at that sort of cutting to the core truth. We talked about something I would love for you to unpack a little bit more. We were talking about fat phobia, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, and the idea that we use phobia attached to these really hateful things and your language around that.
Yeah. Just when we talk about like homophobia, transphobia, it's like you don't fear me. You don't fear me because we're doing the same thing. We are finding love and we are accepting and bettering our bodies to our own individual standards. The same way you do in the gym every day or when you go into those dating sites, I'm doing the exact same thing as you. You do not fear me, right? So it's like when we talk about the use of those words, I definitely agreed with the point that Mykal brought up, which is phobia isn't the right word. So when he asked me like, do you use these words when you're on the ground and you're mobilizing, when you're being an advocate and working within your city? My answer was honestly, I think subconsciously, no, I don't use those words because it's not an issue of fear to me. It's an issue of hate. And I know that my words, I have to be careful with how I use them, which means I have to be tactful with them, right? So it's like, I prefer to use words like racist or bigot, right? Because that's what you are. Like you have hate in your heart. It's not fear. And the only way for you to really approach that hate that you have, and for hopefully one day for us to overcome that as a society, is for me to give it to you straight and to not hold anything back. And if I am coming to you and living in a form of my privilege in a way that's going to harm you, I would hope and I pray that you would do the same for me, period. So I think that it is important for us to step away from those words of fear, because at this point, as Nina said, like, we're laying ourselves fully out. Like there is nothing to hide from. There is nothing that I've kept secret, right? It's all out there. So you cannot fear because you do understand it's not something that you are unknowns to, right? So how do we combat that hate unless we give it a word of bigot, of racism, of terrorism? How do we do that unless we use those words? And then the other thing that I wanted to say is just like in terms of like just accepting yourself and really living into that. My coming out story, I had a parent come to me and say, you know, you can be anything you want in the world, just please don't be gay. Just please don't be gay. And it's like, for me being 16, 17 years old and hearing that, it's like, how am I supposed to overcome that when I know that this is a part of me? It's something I experienced as young as being like 3 to 5 years old and being in an airport and seeing two lesbians just holding each other while they waited for their baggage to come, and having somebody approach and say, listen, this is a public space, you can't do that. And for me having to say, that looked right to me. That looked like something I have not seen on TV yet. That looked like something that I know that I would like to do. So, you know, how do we overcome that if we don't address it? And if we don't say, I'm sorry, but it's not that I can't be this, it's that it's who I am. And it's that I can't escape it. So if I can't escape it and you want to be a part of my community, you want to call yourself family, then be a family member to me and love me regardless. And the same goes to those who we go up against within the community, because at the end of the day, all of our goals should be to make this world a better place for everybody who steps foot in it. So that's where I stand at.
Right. We are living in a world now where we are seeing lesbians and gay folk and trans people on television, but there is still a feeling of novelty about it that as a gay person, it just frustrates me that we're still so novel in society. Do you think we're close to the point where the novelty is wearing off? And maybe I should ask this to you, Nina, because you know people loved Pose. They were complete stans. They loved the actors and actresses, and it still feels like they were looking at cartoons instead of looking at real people, real lives, real experiences, and making the transfer from these television characters to the trans people that they have in their own real life. Mina?
Right. So, I mean, speaking to that, seeing the representation, but adding value to that. And so that counteracts what they have been indoctrinated into. If you go back to the different programming, the different things on social media showing that the trans people are just caricatures. And then when we speak to this Black space in itself, is that in the 3 years of its running, when did you see them being nominated, or when did you see them being acknowledged, even in this said space? And so if we're going to hold, shine the light, if we're going to shine the light, that means it's up to us in this space that if we are a great representation of that, then give us the space, give us that shine, give us that avenue to showcase these beautiful narratives of full lived experiences of Black and brown trans people, showing the resilience, showing the power, and showing them in a way that makes them human, so that they can then turn around and look at their good cousin in their community and in their family and say, oh, I was mistreating my family member. Now that I've seen this on television, and it, of course, this is make-believe, I can then show up in the realness of my family to create change. And so that's, for me, once again, in seeing the bigger picture, particularly in our Black families and our Black experience, is that we have to start seeing everybody, because we can no longer live in the gray area. We can no longer be pushed aside. We can no longer get the after effects of equality and then suffer through that whole time frame. No, for my community, we're not taking that no more.
Oh,
we want ours, and we want it now.
Thank you so much for that, Nina. You said something when we were waiting. You know, there are folks coming in and out of the room to check up on us and make sure that everything's fine. And something that Nina said that I want to make it really present in my mind, as well as to all listening. Why do we go, hey guys, when we go into a room, and it could be a room full of women or female presenting folk.
Yes.
And it was just that one little thing of just going, hey folks, hey all, hey everyone, to really include,
bring everybody in,
bring everyone in. And it's something that I've been trying to incorporate into my life for the last few years. And
right.
Sometimes I stumble, but I always love being corrected.
Yes, and that's,
I need to be mindful that it's not just men in the world.
No, and not centering men in that space, centering everyone. And so right. If this world was created for everyone, then your language should have to be inclusive to everyone so that everyone can be seen. And so that is where you have to internally do the work. So if I'm going to show up as a community member, my language just can be based in showing up to represent men, to showing up to just represent women. We have to be overall inclusive to everyone, because a lot of people, as we now know in this modern day and age, don't identify with just two things.
Right.
I agree with that. I really do. And I think that, like, especially when we're just talking about, you know, the name and the purpose of this panel, which is reaching out to other young queer folk and saying, let's show you how we made space for ourselves. Yes. It's just as important for the allies watching this to understand this is how you make space for us as well. And in doing so, you're going to extend the space that you have for yourself, right? It's like when we talk about not saying you guys, it's like, oh, that's so trivial. Like, oh my God, everybody just gets caught up on like the smallest things. But what we don't realize is it's the same when you're talking about microaggressions. Like teaching somebody when a Black person walks into a room not to hide your bag simply because a Black person has walked into the room. It's the same concept as saying, I'm going to make a conscious effort to say, hey, everyone, or hey, folks, or when I speak, I love to say my sisters, brothers, and my siblings, period. Because it's important to understand that not everybody is going to identify as being your sister or your brother, but everybody that you work with should be considered a member of your family. Because the whole point of this is to uplift and build up our community. So I think that it's super, super important for us to step away from even the small things, because those small things create the bigger problems that we're trying to actively combat.
I think there's something so powerful in having this conversation. As a man, I feel very honored to be in this conversation with you two ladies because there are so many voices that are telling me, "Oh man, fight for your rights. You know, you're queer. You got to be in the front." And the truth is, there's been so many women along my journey who have been integral in every step of my liberation and every step of my rise. And I have to be, if I'm to be a useful member of society, I have to be more conscious and more present for women and them folk in our community. And you two have given me such an honor to do this. I want to do this last little question before we get off. I want to know what you two do for self-care.
So for self-care, I'm goofy. I'm team goofy. I laugh. I find joy in seeing my Black people enjoy. I find joy in working for my community, like working with UWC, Unique Women's Coalition out of Los Angeles. I find joy in working with Ahmad Institute because all of those are Black led. And so how I show up in my existence is finding joy in those spaces by doing the work, having fun with it, and still also knowing the levels in the spaces to where I can detach and still live, I guess, somewhat in the space that we're living in 2021, finding those spaces of joy in that space. But the leading thing is that I laugh.
I believe in that. I believe in that completely. Angelique?
Yeah, so for me, I was recently just thrown, luckily, gratefully, into this field of organizing at a citywide level where I'm used to working on my campus. And so my normal methods of self-care, which involve just like sleeping, which is a very important form of self-care, sleeping and hanging out with my friends, didn't do enough for me. So what I started to focus on is interior design, so decorating my home space and making it to where anytime I came home or anytime I was stressed out, I always knew that I had a safe haven to come back to, which is my apartment. And you can kind of see a little bit of it behind me here, but interior design has been really important for me. And then really just meaning it when I say to practice positive self-talk. Yes. A lot of the times we don't understand that if you were to go and disconnect the little things that connect the two sides of your brain together, you're dealing with two individual beings. So you could be reading a book and your hand will put the book down because the other side of your brain is not engaged. So it's really important for us to practice and uphold the way that we talk to ourselves. I found that to be really, really helpful for me in my hard times, and even in my easy times, to make sure that I'm telling myself, hey, you may have messed up right there, but overall you're doing a great job. Or that may not feel like it's the biggest accomplishment, but you've helped 5 people today, and that's more people than you helped yesterday. So those are the 2 things that I picked up: interior design, positive self-talk. Another thing is I've been watching a lot of Naruto. I'm really into anime. And so definitely Naruto, because that little boy will inspire you to push on like nobody else.
I am right now I'm into blowing bubbles with like actual bubbles, like blowing bubbles. I love to color. I'm horrible at it. Horrible. I bought a whole set of Legos that I like to put my Legos together. Yes. I love to listen to like records on the record player. That brings me so much joy. Anything where I can protect my joy, I'm gonna do it. And I try my best to protect it so I don't have to go out and like get it back. So I'm really proactive about my joy. I want to protect it, and I don't let people come in if I know your purpose is to trouble my joy. And if I get a whiff that you're trying to trouble my peace and my joy, I'm getting you out of here. So ladies, how can we find you on social media before we say goodbye?
All things Neverending Nina. Go get my single, That One, available on all things musical platforms. Support independent artists, support Black trans artists.
Yeah, for me, you can find me on social media by just typing in Aphrodite, spelled AFRVDITE. So yeah, that's where you can find me at. I also, shameless plug, please follow Fresno State NAACP. That is the unit that I'm a part of. They're doing some amazing things, and I'm super proud of my successors. They're going to take this unit so much further than I was able to. So definitely follow Fresno State NAACP on all social media platforms.
I'm Mykal Kilgore. You can find me everywhere at MYKALKILGORE. That's all over social media. And you can pick up my debut album, which was NAACP Image Award nominated, A Man Born Black. Thank you all so much for being here with this chat today. Protect your joy. We love you. Peace.